Real people, real confessions, the stories you weren't supposed to hear. Welcome to Beyond Reddit Stories. You ever take one of those DNA tests? The kind people do just for fun, maybe to find out if they're 2% Viking or part Italian. I did. No real reason. It was on sale. A friend sent me a link. It felt like a game, like flipping a coin just to see how it lands. I ordered the kit, spit in the tube, sent it off. Didn't think about it again until the email came in. Your DNA results are ready. I was at work. It was a Tuesday, rainy, gray, completely forgettable except that in the next 2 minutes, I would stop being who I thought I was. I clicked the link. The page loaded slowly, like it knew what was coming. And there it was. In cold scientific language, no genetic match found with listed parental names. I thought, what? That's a glitch. Right. I refreshed the page, checked the login, even logged out and back in again. But it said what it said, plain and cruel. The people I called mom and dad had no biological connection to me. And in that moment, I swear to you, I felt like the floor opened beneath my feet. 27 years of memories. Birthday candles, bedtime stories, Christmas mornings. What do you do when all of that suddenly feels borrowed? When you realize your entire life may be built on a secret? I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, asking questions I didn't know how to form into words. Had they lied to me? Was I adopted? Was it a hospital mix-up? Was it something darker? But above all, one thought kept echoing in my head. If I'm not theirs, then who am I? Nhẹ nhàng chuyển vào phần tiếp theo, lời kể chậm lại, gợi mở. Before I go further, let me take you back. Because to understand how everything broke, you first need to see how perfect it all seemed. If you asked me 2 months ago to describe my childhood, I'd tell you it was normal, in the best possible way. I grew up in a quiet suburb outside of Boston, tree-lined streets, golden retrievers behind white fences. Sunday mornings smelled like pancakes and fresh coffee. My dad was a professor history, the kind of man who ironed his shirts even on weekends. He taught me how to drive, how to shake a hand properly, how to fix a leaky faucet without calling for help. My mom was a high school English teacher. She cried at sad movies, loved thunderstorms, and kept a garden of overgrown tulips that bloomed sideways every spring. And me, I was just their kid, the bookish one, the shy one, the one who stayed home on prom night and built websites for fun. We weren't perfect. There were arguments. I had that 1 year where I dyed my hair green and refused to eat meat. But we laughed a lot. We made things work. We loved each other. That's why, when the DNA results came in when they told me I wasn't biologically related to them, it didn't make sense. Because nothing in my life ever felt off. They never treated me like an outsider, never let me feel less than, never hinted that I wasn't theirs. And yet now that I know the truth, I keep replaying moments from the past, like I'm scanning them for signs. That one time my mom went silent when I asked if I looked more like her or dad, or how they always seemed. Careful, like they were holding something fragile between them. I never thought twice about any of it, because why would I? We were a family, I belonged. At least, I thought I did. But now, I look at old photos and wonder, did they ever look at me and feel a flicker of guilt? Did they ever lie awake at night, afraid I'd find out? Or maybe they were just like me, believing a version of the truth that made life easier to live. After a few sleepless nights, I decided to confront them. I didn't plan it. It just came out. We were in the kitchen. My dad was peeling oranges. My mom was grading papers. I walked in, sat down, and said, I took a DNA test. It says I'm not your son. The air changed instantly, like someone had opened a window in the middle of winter. My mom's pen froze mid-sentence. My dad looked up, not surprised, just tired. He said, That's ridiculous. Those things aren't always accurate. And she added, You know we love you. That's all that matters. I pushed harder. I tested with another company. Same result. Silence. It was the kind of silence that doesn't need to be loud to be deafening. I could see it in their faces. They already knew. My mother's hand started shaking. She put the papers down and said quietly, We were going to tell you, someday. Someday. That word hit me harder than any truth, because it meant they had decided consciously to let me live in a lie. Year after year, birthday after birthday. I asked the only thing I could. Am I adopted? They shook their heads. No, not adoption. My father said. It was an accident. At the hospital, a mix-up. You weren't supposed to be ours. I just sat there, staring at two people who raised me, fed me, taught me to tie my shoes, and suddenly felt like strangers. I asked if they knew who my biological parents were. My mother hesitated, then said a name. Lisa Hartwell. She said Lisa gave birth the same night I was born. Same hospital. There was some confusion and emergency. And somewhere, somehow, someone handed them the wrong baby. That baby was me. At first, they didn't believe it. But they'd had doubts. My mother even mentioned trying to get a quiet paternity test years ago, but backing out. They had the chance to know, and they chose not to. That hurt more than anything. Not the mistake, not even the truth. But the silence, the delay, the decision to keep me in the dark because it was easier for them. I left the house that night, drove around with no destination, just the hum of the engine and a question spinning in my head. If I don't belong to them, then where do I begin? The next day, I started searching. Lisa Hartwell. It wasn't hard to find her. She's a nurse, lives a few hours away, still in Massachusetts. I stared at her photo for hours before I messaged her. It wasn't dramatic. I just said, "Hi, I think we might need to talk. I have reason to believe we're connected, by blood." She didn't reply, not for 2 days. And then, finally, she said, "I've been waiting for this message for 27 years. When Lisa replied, I just stared at my phone. I wasn't ready. I thought I wanted the truth. But in that moment, all I wanted was to rewind my life to before the test. We agreed to meet, a coffee shop, neutral ground. I got there early, ordered a drink I didn't touch, kept my hands under the table because they wouldn't stop shaking. And then she walked in. Lisa looked like me, not in an obvious way, but in the kind of way that unsettles something in your gut. The way her mouth curled when she smiled. The exact shade of her eyes. She sat down, looked at me for a long time, and said, "I thought you died." I didn't know what she meant. She said the night I was born, there were complications. They told her her baby didn't survive. She was 22, alone, terrified. And then, just like that, they handed her a death certificate. No goodbyes, no closure. She said she mourned me. She buried an empty casket. Lived 27 years with a hole in her chest she couldn't explain. And now here I was, sitting across from her, alive. We both cried. For the years we lost. For the moments that were stolen. For everything that could have been, but never was. We decided to take a DNA test together, this time, just to be sure. 2 weeks later, the results came in. 99.9% match. She was my biological mother. I thought that would feel like resolution, like the end of a painful chapter, but it wasn't. It was just the beginning of another impossible question. What do I do now? I had a family, people who raised me, people who loved me, even if they lied. And now I had another family, one I was never meant to lose. A biological mother who had lived in grief for nearly 3 decades. Lisa never married. She had no other kids. She told me she never felt whole again after the night I was taken from her. And now, somehow, she was expected to step back into my life like no time had passed. I felt torn not in halves but in thirds. The child I thought I was, the son they raised. And now, the man I'm supposed to become, carrying this truth. For weeks, I avoided both families, stopped answering calls, deleted social media, even called in sick from work just to sit in silence. I didn't know who I was supposed to be loyal to. I didn't know if I had the right to be angry. I didn't even know if I had the right to grieve. Because the people who raised me didn't steal me. And the woman who gave birth to me didn't give me away. It was the system, a broken hospital, a forgotten file, a careless handoff in the middle of the night. But somehow, we were the ones paying for it. And then something shifted. Lisa called one evening and said, "I don't want to replace them. I just want to know you." That broke me, because in all of this, She was the only one who wasn't asking for anything. She just wanted truth, connection, whatever I was willing to give. That night, I called my parents. We met up, we cried, for the first time. My father said, "We were afraid. Not of losing you, but of not being enough." And for the first time, I understood. None of us asked for this, but all of us were hurting because of it. That was the moment things began to shift. Not solved, not healed, but open. We stopped pretending, we started listening. And somehow, in that mess between the grief and guilt and broken timelines, something like family began to take shape again. Not the one I had, not the one I lost, but something new, something real. It's been almost a year since I took that DNA test. Sometimes I still wake up and forget, just for a second, that my life split into two timelines. That somewhere out there is a version of me who never knew, who still thinks birthdays and Sunday dinners were just simple, unquestionable truths. But the version that's here now, the real me, has come to accept something deeper. I don't have one family, I have two. And they're both flawed. They both made mistakes. But they both love me, in their own way. We've stopped trying to make it neat. There's no fairy tale ending, no perfect reunion, just real people, showing up, trying. Lisa and I talk every week now. Sometimes it's about heavy things like what we missed. Other times it's about stupid little things like what I was like as a kid, what she would have named me. My parents, the ones who raised me, they're still in my life. We don't avoid the topic anymore. We don't pretend it didn't happen. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting, but choosing to love anyway. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stays. Who shows up when the truth is messy and hard and full of pain. It's about the people who hold you when everything falls apart, even if they're the ones who dropped the first stone. And maybe, just maybe, it's also about choosing each other again, even when you don't have to. So if you've made it this far in my story, I want to ask you something. What makes someone family to you? Is it DNA, shared memories, unspoken forgiveness? Or maybe it's something you can't quite name, but you feel it when someone says your name like it matters. I never expected this story to be mine. I didn't go looking for secrets. I wasn't chasing some dramatic twist in my past. All I wanted was to know if I had a bit of Irish in me, or maybe something exotic to joke about at parties. But life has a way of handing us truths we didn't ask for. And sometimes, those truths hurt, but other times, they set us free. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: we all carry stories that no one sees. Sometimes, not even we see them until they break through the surface. And maybe you're watching this right now with your own story. Maybe you felt like you didn't belong. Maybe there's something in your family history that doesn't add up. Maybe you've lived with questions no one dared to answer. If that's you, you're not alone. And I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who asked one question and got 1,000 answers I wasn't ready for. So I'd like to ask you something. What would you do if you found out your parents weren't really your parents? Would you confront them? Would you forgive? Would you walk away or try to rebuild? I'd love to hear your story if you're ready to share it. You don't need to explain everything. Sometimes just saying "me too" is enough. You can leave a comment below, or just take a moment for yourself to sit with your truth, whatever that looks like. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you feel seen, or cracked something open in you, consider subscribing. Not because I'm chasing views, but because I want to keep telling stories like this. Real ones, messy ones, human ones. The kind that remind us behind every ordinary face is an extraordinary secret. Thank you for being here.